Hello, welcome to Yoga with Rach. I'm Rach. Thank you very much for joining me. We're on week 2 for our Gemini practice. So Geminis are our air signs, and we're going to have a little focus on working with a couple of different pranayamas throughout our practice today. So come into a comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall, whatever that means for you, being comfortable in the legs. So either have the legs crossed, you might have the knees bent with the feet on the mat, you might have the legs extended out in front of you, feet might be to one side, knees to the other. So just have a little bit of a move around. Sitting up nice and tall. So create space in the belly. Create space in the chest as you roll the shoulders away and down the back. So we're not lifting them up to the ears. And hands can rest into the lap, onto the thighs. Maybe you practiced last week and you're going to go into your chin mudra or Vyana mudra. And just bring your awareness to your breath. Checking in with how your breath feels. Are you breathing in and out through the nose or through the mouth? Does the breath feel quite short or quite full and long? Is it quite sharp or soft? Are you taking a big breath in now, like I just did? It's like, ooh, when you become aware of the breath, you realize how much more you can pull into the body. So if you're normally someone that breathes quite short and shallow into the chest, be aware of allowing yourself to draw that down into the belly. We're creating space. So rather than sitting and collapsing and restricting that space, we're lifting up nice and tall. I'm just going to have a go with 3 rounds of Ujjayi breath out of the mouth. Ujjayi breath, we create a little bit of constriction at the back of the throat. And as we exhale, we really want to focus on that lovely soft side. You might hear that a little bit as you inhale through the nose. I like to imagine that I'm sat in front of a window or a mirror and I'm trying to use my exhale to bulk the surface up. So on your next inhale, just gently breathing in through the nose. Exhale, open the mouth. Inhaling through the nose. And as you exhale, you're really allowing yourself to release that lovely soft sigh. Last one, and if you get the yawns happening, let them happen. Coming back to your natural breath. And just flutter the eyes open. Make sure you've got a bit of space behind you. So we're going to take the hands behind us. Fingertips can turn around so they're pointing to the back of the mat. Or you might turn the hands around so they're pointing towards the tailbone, whichever feels comfortable for you. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Gently push the tailbone down as you lift up. So you're starting to push the belly forward, lifting the chest forward and up. And lift the chin to look up. Check you're not dropping your head back. So we're going into a little seated back bend, opening into the heart and into the throat chakra. Geminis are air. They're connected to the air element, which is also connected to the heart chakra, but they're also the communicators. So we're just connecting and checking in with both the heart and throat chakra. And listen to how your body's communicating or how your mind's communicating in your practice. So does this feel comfortable in your body, but does it also feel comfortable in your mind? And if it doesn't feel comfortable in either way, that's perfectly fine. Nothing or neither is right or wrong. And then moving in the opposite direction as you start to tuck the chin, lift the hands, scoop the knees up, bend the knees if you were in your cross-legged position, and wrap your arms around the legs, tuck the chin to chest and start to round the back. And focusing on the breath. Lifting the chin. Now we're going to stretch the legs out nice and wide. So you might just let them fall off the sides of your mat, depending on how much room you've got or how comfortable it feels for you in the legs and the hips. Just going to check in with the feet. So see which variation feels comfortable for you. So rather than as I've just done, I've stretched the legs out, my legs aren't doing anything, I can't feel anything going on in my legs, in the calf muscles or around the knees, the quads. So we're going to have a go with flexing the feet. So you're pointing the toes up, but keep the heels on the mat. Pointing the feet, so you're pointing the feet and the toes away from you. Or flointing, such a beautiful, beautiful made up word. Keep the feet pointing, but your toes start to flex. So you can flex, toes point up, point, pointing the feet and the toes, or keep that point in the feet, but flex the toes, you're flointing. Last round before we pause in whichever one feels comfortable for you. Flex, point, or floint. I have no idea if that's a real word, but I love it when we can make words up. It must be a Gemini thing. We're going to sit up nice and tall still. Keep the hands in front of you. So notice if you try to lean back. So keep nice and tall. Keep those shoulders over your hips. Keep that active place in your legs, whether you're flexed, pointing, or flointing. We're going to bring the hands in front of us to interlace the fingers. Reach the arms forward, and that might be as far as you go, which is perfectly fine. Maybe you can pull forward a bit more, still keeping nice and active in the legs. Draw yourself over to your right leg. Pull yourself back, bend the elbows as you come to the right hip. Across to your left hip, pushing forward to the left foot. So you're drawing this big circle, stirring the pot of ideas and inspiration is what we want to invite in for our Gemini sequence. So we don't have to move very fast, we can move quite slowly. You don't have to move very deeply into this. So again, if your hips, your hamstrings, your lower back are tight, stay nice and high so you aim more for the knees rather than the feet. Focusing on the breath. And next time you move over to the left leg, pause. And pull back to the left hip, across to the right, towards the right foot, and around in the opposite direction. Just making a note of how you feel in your mind and in your body. Listen to those two polar opposites. 2 more. The last one. And gently release. Give the legs a wiggle, point flex, release the feet. And we're going to bend the knees. Make sure you've got room behind you. So you've got your feet on the mat, knees and feet about hip width apart. Take your hands behind you, or behind the knees, sorry. Lift up nice and tall, pull the belly to the thighs. Lean back with the shoulders, but not dropping into your lower back. Keep the chin and chest lifted, and as you lean back, lift into your baby boat pose. So we've got the feet lifted off of the mat. Now this might be where you want to stay with the feet. Don't check in with the hands yet. So we will be moving those. So you're either going to stay here, maybe we can lift the feet up, but if you know that you need to keep your hands here, bring your feet back down to here, because we're going to take the hands behind us again. Find what feels comfortable for the placement of your hands. Roll the shoulders, lift the chin, lift the chest. Feet can be hovering just above the mat, or maybe we're in that half boat pose, keeping the feet roughly in line with the knees. Roll the shoulders away rather than collapsing and lift up nice and tall. Focus on the breath. You might need to pull the belly in. And on your exhale, just to bring that away from your thighs. Building up a little bit of heat into the body. Breathe. And release. Wrap the arms around the legs. Whew. So from here, you might need to slide the tailbone a little bit closer to the heels. Find your way down onto your back. Keep the chin slightly tucked into the chest. Knees, feet to hip width apart. Place the hands down onto the mat. Start to push through the feet, the hands, maybe a little bit into the shoulder blades, and then your head ever so gently. So you lift your tailbone, your hips, your lower back, maybe your middle back. Think about pushing or drawing the chest in towards the chin. So opening the heart again and gently stimulating the throat chakra. Focusing on the breath, but also checking with what the body's doing. So are the knees trying to drop out? Are you trying to turn the toes out? So try to keep the feet a little bit more parallel. Trying to make sure the knees stay active, engage the glutes. So remember when we were trying to be nice and active in our practice. Whenever you're ready, slowly lower all the way down. So we're going to do 2 more. You're welcome to stay in this variation. Notice if you try any other variations, do you dip down? So we want to try and get this height of the hips and drawing the chest towards the chin. So if you try any other variation and you start to lower, come back out of that one and into the one where you get the most height. So we're really focusing on opening the heart and stimulating into the throat chakra. So we can lift up, staying here. Maybe we can bring the hands underneath the body, interlace the fingers and tuck the shoulders under. So again, you're lifting up a bit higher. If not, come back to the other variation. Or we can place the hands underneath the hips. You might need to help by lifting your heels a little bit. From there, place the heels back down. See what feels comfortable. So just because you've created extra height, does it feel comfortable in your body? And then whenever you're ready, lowering all the way down. Don't be tempted to bring the knees into the belly yet. We've got one more bridge. And then we're going to release the back. So last one, push through the feet, push through the hands, stay with that first variation, or interlace the fingers, or bring the hands underneath your hips. Make sure, so you're lifting up, you're going to tuck the shoulders under, bring your hands to your lower back, get that height, and then you need to be able to place the heels back down onto the mat. And that might not feel comfortable in your wrists or in your knees. So listen to what's going on in your body. Is it your body telling you to release the pose, or is it your mind? Your mind will look for an escape a lot quicker. Slowly lower down. From here, bring the knees into the belly, focusing on the breath. And we're going to take a few rock and rolls up to sitting. Notice I said a few. So if you're someone that rocks up on the first go, maybe you've got great core strength, or maybe you've got great momentum to lift up, or maybe you're clenching the jaw and using the neck and the shoulders. So from here, we're just going to rock up a little bit and roll back. Rock up a little bit higher, roll back. Rock up a little bit higher and roll back. Rock a bit higher, maybe we can stay out, we can roll back. Maybe this is our last one, maybe not. And then we find our way all the way up. Have a breath if you need to then move into downward facing dog. So spread the fingertips nice and wide, pushing into the palms, the back of the knuckles, the fingertips. Pull the shoulders back, push the tailbone high, bend the knees so the heels can lift, perfectly fine. Let your head relax. And invite a little bit of movement in if you feel that's what your body wants. You might sway, release your head side to side. You might slowly walk on the spot. You might turn the heels to one side, stretch out the sideways, opening up into the side of the lungs, changing sides, focusing on the breath. So just inviting in a little bit of stillness when you're ready. We're going to come back to that Ujjayi breath we did as we were seated. So on your breath, as you inhale, inhale through the nose. As you exhale, exhale out of the mouth. Twice more. Inhale through the nose. Exhaling out of the mouth. Last one. Slowly lowering down. If it's comfortable, move into puppy pose. So keep the knees about hip width apart. You're going to keep the tailbone above the knees. Start to draw your forehead down to the mat, either resting it onto the arms or slide the arms in front of you if the forearms are stacked. So your forehead can rest onto the mat. Maybe it's comfortable in your neck and shoulders to extend the arms forward. If puppy pose is not comfortable for you, move into child's pose instead. Really be aware of allowing your forehead to connect to the mat or onto your block or onto your hands. So we're still staying quite gentle. We've just moved out of the new moon. We're building a little bit of heat into the body, but focusing mostly on that breath, finding that flow of the air through the body. So a few more breaths in child's pose or puppy pose, whichever one you've landed in. In a moment we're going to move back up into downward dog, and we're going to have a go with lion's breath in our downward dog. So this is slightly different to our ujjayi breath. It's a little bit louder, a little bit more forceful. So you're going to inhale through the nose, but you're going to exhale out of the mouth, sticking the tongue out of the mouth and making a bit more of a roar. Sometimes it sounds more like a hiss sound, depending on how you're releasing the breath. But you're in downward dog, so you can allow yourself to be silly. If there's a few of you in the room practicing along with me, then you're not having to do this looking at each other, but you're going to be inhaling through the nose. And as you exhale, and almost it feels like you're pulling your face. It's very, very kiddie-ish, which is brilliant because Geminis are the kids in the zodiac. So you're going to be inhaling through the nose in a moment and exhaling out of the mouth, sticking the tongue out. So coming up into downward facing dog, pull the shoulders back, push the tailbone high, focusing on the breath in your own time. Inhaling through the nose, exhale out of the mouth, stick the tongue out. Twice more. Last one, inhale. Exhale, open the mouth, relax the jaw, stick out the throat, stick out the tongue. And slowly let it go, coming back down, either into puppy pose variation or into child's pose. So allowing the breath to slow and regulate whilst you're in your resting pose. We've got one more breathing technique that we're going to have a little play with in our downward dog. We're going to flutter the lips. So I kind of lovingly nickname this in classes horse breath, because it's almost when, if you're not doing your ujjayi breath properly, you kind of then just pierce the lips. But we won't really want to release and almost create this vibration behind the back of the lips. So you're exhaling and making that funny sound. If you get the giggles, awesome. If you've got the giggles for lion's breath, fantastic. But really letting the lips sort of wiggle and flutter and creating some lovely silly noises. But we're going to do this again in downward dog. So one last breathing technique, pranayama, in our downward dog. So lift up out of your child's pose or puppy pose. Spread the fingertips nice and wide. Tuck under the toes, pull the shoulders back, push the tailbone high, bend the knees if you need to. Inhaling through the nose, exhale, flutter the lips. Should we get the giggles? Awesome. We're going to do that twice more. Inhale. Last one. And you get the giggles like I have, awesome. Come back to your breath and lower down into puppy pose or into child's pose. Slowing the breath down. Allowing yourself to listen to your body. Staying here for as long as you wish. Or you might move into one of the other practices that I'm going to link at the end of the video. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. There's a button here. Thank you very much for joining me, and I shall see you next week for our full moon practice. Namaste.